This is the Cover 3 Tailgate. And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Tom Fornelli. That's Bud Elliott. That's Danny Kanell. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live, youtube.com/cover3 and everywhere you get your podcasts on demand. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like, and come and join us in the chat, a.k.a. the Cover 3 Tailgate, where they are fired up. We got a big show for you on deck. Yovi is asking for inside voices. No promises. No promises. No promises. This is not planned. This is not fabricated. We have a very loose rundown of things that we would like to get to today, and we look forward to doing that. Among the things that we are going to discuss today, that we are going to get you set with a Heisman Trophy breakdown. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different. I know this is Wednesday when we do big game breakdown. We're going to factor our Army-Navy preview in with our Army-Navy locks on Thursday. So full Army-Navy. This will be a big Heisman breakdown coming up in just a little bit. Day train Danny, as we always do. And though we do have a couple weeks until January 2nd, the official opening of the transfer portal. Oh, it's bubbling. We already got a lot of different whispers. We got a little bit of a different view of what it might look like. We're going to talk teams to keep an eye on. We're going to talk some big picture thoughts, quarterback dominoes, and so much more. But because it is a Wednesday, let's go ahead and get it started with a little big game breakdown. Before we jump into big game breakdown, a quick shout out to Amazon Prime. Last minute holiday gifts? No problem. Prime's fast, free shipping keeps you covered. Holiday wins delivered? It's on Prime. And of course, what was delivered on Monday? It was the news of our Heisman Trophy finalists. They are Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza. They are Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia. We also see Ohio State quarterback Julian Sayin and Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love all announced as the Heisman Trophy finalists for the 2025 season. Now, the Heisman Trophy, of course, will be awarded on Saturday night to be able to enshrine them along with the rest of the Heisman Trophy winners. When you look at this Heisman class, Danny, let's start with sort of the cut line, because there's only 3 names on the ballot. 4 ended up making it as finalists. How do you think that played out? And was there maybe a 5th name in there that might have probably, when we see the final voting report, that you think could end up maybe being right there close to the cut line for finalists, but maybe not quite there?
There were a lot of guys. I mean, I thought it really cleared up towards the end of the season. I thought Haynes King would have been somebody that, had he knocked off Georgia, been in that conversation, even with the loss to Pitt, still possibly could have gotten back into it. Clearly, coming down with 2 games to go, he had that opportunity, but then coming up short against Pitt really knocked him out of it. He'd be somebody that maybe would have been on the outside looking in. Jeremiah Smith, another one, obviously being the Ohio State superstar that he is, but we know how hard it is to get 2 players from the same team there to New York. He might pop up for some people, especially with the way the Big Ten title game unfolded with Julian saying, kind of looking vulnerable. I think there's a chance. So those are probably, Jeremiah Smith's probably the one that I'll be interested to see if he comes up 5th, like just after this group.
Tom, Bud, what about y'all?
I mean, honestly, I really agree with what Danny just said there. I think this is we have to start thinking because of the flattening of the sport, right? Like teams like Indiana and Vanderbilt have finalists, and not just like standouts on a bad team, like finalists for the reason that those teams have had the best seasons that they've ever had in program history. So I think it's harder now to post these insane numbers. Teams are playing a lot slower, fewer possessions. Like people are like, this is the worst Heisman year ever. I don't agree with that, right? Like if Sayin's on a different team, who knows? He might finish second. It was pretty clear a lot of voters were going to leave him off their ballot had he won, or at least like moving from not on the ballot to third. If you look at a lot of the media polls, but like I think he's a damn good player. He was the PFF's #1 rated quarterback all year. Like, guy's really good. I don't think this is a bad Heisman year. I think that the sport has flattened. More teams have a chance to win now than ever before. It's harder to stand out and be like insane because you're not surrounded by quite as many superstars typically.
Can we sit there? Is it a bad Heisman year? Okay.
I don't think so.
I would say, I think similar to what I wish I would have seen Ohio State and Indiana, both of them tested more throughout the latter half of the season. You know, like I think that kind of goes to the same way we looked at those teams coming in. Like and that was it's a legit, like I know Ohio State or India is not a knock against them. Like, you guys are really good. I feel like I wish I would have seen them tested a little bit more so that you would have had more adversity and more opportunities. And I do think that's probably why Mendoza was the leader, because he had the drive against Penn State. Like, if Sayan had a game like that, he probably could have won this thing. He just lacked a moment. And that's what everybody was waiting for one of these guys to step up. And when Mendoza, it wasn't a great game statistically. He made some big plays and some great throws. And I do think that was the difference. I said it for the last month of the season. I thought it was going to come from the Big Ten championship game. But as you're watching that game unfold, you're like, holy cow, what if they don't do anything? And that's when Diego Pavia enters the chat, in a very serious way.
Fernando Mendoza practically died on the first play of the game.
That to me was the Heisman moment of the season.
That's what I'm saying. And then he came back. He came back from that and then had that game.
Yeah.
So, and then there was I talked about it during the season. There was the one hit he took in the Iowa game while delivering a huge play to help them win that game. It's like,
at the very end.
Yeah, where he got absolutely lit up. So, I think statistically it's misleading because you see it and you think back to recent years and you see, like, in the air raid offenses, all the guys that were throwing like 40, 50 touchdowns a year. And now you compare it to what the stats look like now, where between, passing and rushing, Fernando had 39 touchdowns. And that's over, 3 touchdowns a game. But it doesn't look as good compared to other numbers. But the sport has changed. Where Bud mentioned, fewer possessions, the clocks never stop running. So you're not going to see those kind of numbers anymore. But I just think that overall, you look at these and you say it's a weak class. But I think one of the things that contributes to that is, the playoff sucks up a ton of the oxygen during the season. Really talking about players, you're talking about teams and their playoff odds. So you just kind of push the Heisman to the side. And the only time the Heisman does come up, it's typically in like a gambling sense in which you're talking about the odds for the guys. And those are changing every single week. And everybody's fascinated. Like you'll see on Twitter during a Saturday, this guy's down to plus 500. This guy's now up to plus 2,500. It's like, that's the way it's being framed, at least in the world I am. And that world is college football media. So those are the people that are typically voting on it. So I think that it becomes more of I don't think it's a award or something that's looked at as much as it's like another game. And there's a lot of recency bias. And I think that has impacted it far more than it even had in recent years. Whereas, like, we saw, but like the straw polls, like Pavia was always in them. But then suddenly Pavia had a great game against Tennessee, and now there's like a huge swell of Pavia might win this damn thing. And it's like, well, because of one game, he had the same game he's been having all year. Why is he suddenly, because Sayan didn't have a great game. Mendoza didn't have a huge game that week, but Pavia did. So all of a sudden now he's the favorite. And it was just, I think that is something that kind of, it makes it pointless to track because it changes every day. Yeah. Am I making any sense?
No, I think it's really interesting because we didn't, to my mind, we did not have the focus on this week to week, hour by hour changing in the Heisman Trophy odds market in 2021. Because let me read you what the finalists looked like in 2021. You tell me if this is a stellar Heisman class. Heisman winner, Bryce Young. Second place, Aiden Hutchinson. Third place, Kenny Pickett. Is that a good Heisman class?
It's on my Mount Rushmore of Heisman classes.
So. Like I don't know if there's a reason for that. I was just trying to reach like, okay, so what is a weak Heisman class? Like you've got this, Bo Nix. You've got Michael Penix. Like you've got, okay, that was pretty good. You go back, you look at the Jane Daniels, you look at the Caleb Williams years, you see a CJ Stroud popping up there. But when you start to get too cute with like Aiden Hutchinson and the Will Anderson campaigns, that might have been a year. And again, I don't remember doing the type of odds related analysis, but it is definitely, I like where you're at, Tom. It has definitely influenced the way we talk about it in a way that I don't know. I don't know if it's changed the voting at all, because a lot of people don't even think about it till they get their ballot. Right.
Mhm.
But it's definitely changed the conversation in a big way.
Kyle, go ahead.
It's kind of like the Heisman is no different really than conference championship games are, or all these other things where, like I mentioned, like the way that we discuss the playoff and how much attention that gets, it just kind of makes everything feel a little less important.
Kyle in the chat asked, he said, so Sayan's knock was he was too good versus Penn State and didn't have to come from behind.
I don't think there's a knock on Sayan. I don't
right, exactly. Like I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I told you.
Great sweatshirt. You should check it out. YouTube.com/cover3.
Got my swag.
In perfect Danny fashion, he loaded up on Indiana and Ohio State swag. So
totally, I don't want to play a bias.
No
I like them both.
Who won? He was going to be coming out with some sweet stuff.
Exactly. But to his question, I do think it hurt Julian Sayin how good his team was. It was very similar to the Mac Jones conversation when Devontae Smith, his own teammate, came up and won it. I heard several people start to ask, is Julian Sayin even the best player on his own team? And everybody's like, oh my gosh, no, he's not even a top 5 player on his team. So I do think Ohio State's dominance hurt Julian Sayin. Is it fair? No, but I do think if they had a crappy game similar to Indiana and he had to step up and showcase like his abilities and have a 2-minute drive, ironically, I think that would have helped him just the same way with Indiana. Like, I think I felt better about Indiana because they got tested. Like we saw them respond. It's sort of similar in that circumstance. And it is like, that was the one thing I was trying to do. And this, as a voter, you're trying to like, and I did this with Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry, was if you put Christian McCaffrey on Alabama, would he have had the same success? And if you put Derrick Henry on Stanford, what if he had the same success? And I think that conversation started to crop up. Even Cardell, when I was working with Cardell was like, Diego Pavia should win the Heisman. He's like, and he had that philosophy. He's like, if you put Diego on Ohio State, they're still undefeated. He said, if you put Julian Sayin on Vanderbilt or Fernando Mendoza on Vanderbilt, are they really 10-2? And he said, no. And you could argue that, Tom said maybe yes, it might look a little different. So, but that is a line of thinking that I think some Heisman voters look at.
It's a lot like the Coach of the Year awards. It's never the coach who is supposed to be good who actually has a great season who wins. It's always the coach of the team that surprised people.
Let me I want to say I don't know, whatever. Journalistic integrity. I'm going to get this fact wrong, but I want to say that Mike Krzyzewski did not win ACC Coach of the Year after 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Yeah. He's definitely not the best coach in the conference, right? Not even the country, like in the conference. Okay. Yeah, sure.
There is something too to like, that's why it's really hard to go back to back with MVPs in the NFL and the NBA. Like they didn't want to give 3. That's too many, even though that might be the best player. Might be, now this is a bad year to make the case, but Patrick Mahomes might be the best player in the NFL every year, but you let other people win it, So I think it's just kind of similar. It's human nature to look for different reasons why not to give somebody an award.
And I do think that, to speak to whether it was a good year or not, it was a wow. I wish our friend Nicole Auerbach is like big on the expand it to 5 places. This was a year where like 3's hard. You weren't reaching to try to get 3 names. There were great options. You didn't have to get cute. You didn't have to reach. There were all great options to be in the argument for, again, Heisman Trophy awarded to the most outstanding player in college football. Not the MVP,
right?
Not best player, best team, most outstanding player in college football.
One thing that I did consider, and I wonder if anybody else did too, was Trinidad Chambliss. He didn't have the stats because he missed a couple games early. And even at the back end, like with the season that he did play, he didn't blow you away. But I think you make an argument of what he did for Ole Miss was pretty spectacular. and that he should have been in the conversation as a top 5 at the least. But I don't think he made a lot of people's ballot because statistically he wasn't there. Like, I think a lot of voters, 900 voters, are just going to the top of the statistics too.
I don't even think it's a statistics thing. I think that Trinidad Chambliss for individual awards is just like the celebration of the greatest season in Ole Miss football history. Is that all of it got overshadowed by Lane Kiffin and the entire saga. Like, you want to talk about sucking up oxygen. I mean, it was going to be very difficult for our memories to put together an 11-1 Ole Miss season, just because of the way it all ended.
The last one,
I
Rhino.
hit you with the same
On
question.
Chambliss,
Was he even the best player on his own offense?
Right.
Oh, Kewan Lacey would be your vote there? Yeah.
I mean, on Chambliss, like, he didn't get to play like a full game at all against Georgia State, Kentucky. And you got to figure he throws for probably 600 combined on those and probably picks up like
touchdowns.
4 touchdowns. Right. So then you're looking at a guy that would have 3,600 yards and maybe a 22-3, 22-4 touchdown interception ratio. That's a little more palatable. Like, if you throw for barely 3,000 and you're 18-3, unless you're rushing for 1,000, like, that's just not really going to move the needle. They also, like, the way that Ole Miss's schedule set up, they beat Oklahoma before Halloween, and then they played South Carolina, Citadel, Florida, Mississippi State, 4 non-bowl teams down the stretch. It just wasn't going to be optimal for providing Heisman moments.
We Rhino put in there Jacob Rodriguez, such East Coast biases. Is a linebacker. It's hard to win as a defensive player. I thought it was a great story. Maybe he's a guy that would have been top 5. I think he's an incredible player. I just don't think he was ever a very serious candidate.
Rhino, I live about 200 miles east of Jacob Rodriguez. So I don't know if I would be considered an East Coast bias.
Hey, do you know what else is easy to do? Is be a stat stuffer as a linebacker.
Yeah.
Have 1 billion tackles, like what do you, it's okay, fine. Yeah. I mean,
Dylan Thieneman should have won the Heisman with Purdue a few years ago.
Yeah. I mean, you can rack them up that way too, just like you could in a wide open veer and shoot offense. I saw a comment earlier
and he'll win the Butkus Award. Like, he'll win that.
John mentioned with the changes, will Joe Burrow be the last quote great Heisman winner that we remember? And the changes, of course, being, I think, Bud, what you mentioned at the beginning with the sport, the clock rules, and just sort of the way that possessions have been limited, stats are not going to be quite the same. Do you agree with that?
I do agree. Like, the problem with saying he's going to be the last great Heisman winner is 2 things. One, like, could somebody rise up and just have some absolutely insane season? I think it's possible, right? Not likely, but it's possible. You have to account for that. 2, like, if we say it's the last and they change the rules somehow, then obviously that's a pretty dumb statement. So, like, if the rules stay as they are now, then I think it's likely that he's the last guy to do a season like that.
I thought Jaden Daniels was a great Heisman winner during his Heisman winning season.
Yeah.
That guy had 40 total touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
Yeah, but if you'd have thrown any quarterback on that team, they'd have been fine because he had Malik Neighbors, he had Brian Thomas, he had, everybody. Just like Joe Burrow, he had Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. Any quarterback would have played well that year.
Hold on. I can't tell if you're being sarcastic. Can't get a read on this. And also, Daniels beat out Michael Penix and Bo Nix and Marvin Harrison Jr. Those are pretty good. Those are pretty good. I think history will look back on the 2023 Heisman race as being a quote unquote good Heisman race. And I do think we are going to have other ones in the future. Last year, of course, we had the unicorn, Travis Hunter and Ashton Jeanty. And speaking of, player of the year awards, guess what? Ashton Jeanty won the Maxwell Award given to the player of the year. Did not win the Heisman Trophy. Sometimes these things don't always necessarily line up, but we will find out the winner of the Heisman Trophy on Saturday night. When it's announced, we'll come back with our analysis and our recap on Mondays upon further review. And that wraps up our big game breakdown, brought to you by Amazon Prime. Remember, Prime isn't just fast, it's your holiday lifesaver. Forgot a gift for a friend or family member? Do you need something for tonight's party? Prime gets it there quickly, turning last-minute panic to a smooth win. This season, you can count on Prime to deliver right when you need it most. Last-minute gifts delivered. It's on Prime. Coming up on the other side, speaking of the market, let's check in with Day Train Danny, plus a look ahead to the transfer portal and more next.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, one of our favorite pieces of the season is a weekly check-in with the market with our advisor. Let's go to Day Trading Danny.
All right, so I was thinking, what's the market going to be today? I thought it would be a good time because we've talked a lot about the coaching carousel, which has been wild. It's been spinning out of control. You know, the next carousel that's about to spin? It's the quarterback carousel, which with the portal opening January 2nd, we've already got Sam Leavitt announcing his intentions to leave Arizona State. We're going to start seeing some more of these announcements coming. It is interesting that they're all letting it be known, even though the portal doesn't open till later. We're still going to have know exactly who's going where, which is kind of interesting. And I figured since we do the quarterback carousel, we want to make sure that two things. One, young quarterbacks, make sure you send a thank you note to your boosters. Send out a note.
Troy Aikman.
Thank your boosters, especially if he's super high profile and he's on national TV. I don't know, maybe a text like, hey, bro, thanks for the cash. That was the weirdest story ever. And we're all pretty certain he's talking about Dante Moore, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, hold on. Sorry. I want to say we are all pretty certain. I do not have.
Right. No,
yeah,
exactly. We are pretty certain. We are not reporting that.
Deduced.
But that all signs point to.
Yes.
And if you're not familiar with the story, Troy Aikman was on a podcast with Richard Deitch, and he said that he was never going to give any money again because he gave money to UCLA to get a certain player. The player only stayed for 1 year and then never even thanked him for the money.
If only you could solve for that somehow, you know? I don't know, but like I bet you could find a solution.
How much do you think the check was for? Like, because I do not know what hurts Troy Aikman's feelings. Like, I don't think it's.
I think a lot hurts Troy Aikman's feelings.
I think it's probably a significant amount, right?
Oh no, I don't know what it was. I think that the threshold to hurt Troy Aikman's feelings about it is a lot lower than you might imagine.
I think that's a man who can hold a grudge.
Yeah.
He's got large hands for holding grudges.
Yes, he can.
Like like his neighbor ended up saying that he would pay for a fence or something or chip in on it, but like hasn't yet, and Troy's still mad. I can see that.
So with that being the backdrop, we want to make sure. So one of the things I would look for if I was going in the market for a quarterback, I would want to have a guy that I could hopefully get for multiple years. I'm not a huge fan of the get one. You get 1 year to work with them. It's a crapshoot. If it doesn't work out, you're kind of screwed. Then you have to start from scratch. So ideally, I would like to start with somebody who is younger in their career, which is why I almost feel bad for these programs because I don't know if they're going to be able to keep these quarterbacks. But I am buying. I have 3 buys and 3 sells today. So with my purchases, we've got a trio of freshman quarterbacks.
Ooh.
We've got Mason Heichel at Pitt. We've got Drew Mestamaker at North Texas. And we have JKS at Cal. Jaron Kiawe Sagapulatele.
Well, he's staying at Cal.
Nailed it. Is he?
Yep.
That's done.
Oh, okay. Well, then there goes that one. So he's bought up. Good for Cal.
Tosh flew to Hawaii, like first act as a Cal coach. They got their act together. They got that done.
Brilliant move for Cal. I would say that is
no
a strong buy. I am buying
Coach of
him
the year.
back at Cal.
Coach of the year, Tosh Lupoy. I am buying ACC coach of the
You
year.
didn't get
I'm
that
going to
done.
buy Cal and their
Yeah.
win total going over next year. I'll do that early. And there is a strong possibility that Drew Mestamaker goes with Eric Morris to Oklahoma State. Another situation that I would look at and say, I am going to buy Oklahoma State then if they have a quarterback that is that good. And I know it's a jump up in competition, but he has been a spectacular find for him. And Mason Heichel, I do wonder. I I just go back to the Jordan Addison thing, and I feel so bad for Narduzzi because it's just really hard to keep players. I don't know how the funds, how they would work out, if they can keep them. If they do, strong buy for Pitt. But if I was looking in the market, I would target, these style of quarterbacks. Freshman years, some of them a little bit different, varying levels of success. Some of them played the whole season, some of them didn't. But I would say those would be my 3 top buys if they were available in the case of JKS. But all of them, those would be the ones I would kick the tires on.
Loved Heinzel, obviously. I mean, dude responded to just getting embarrassed by Notre Dame by going down to Atlanta and tearing up Georgia Tech. Now, granted, who amongst us did not get a chance at Georgia Tech's defense? But at the same time, like it was something that in the process of a freshman season, when you weren't even the starter to begin with, you take over the job, you play really well, you get humbled, and then you still find a way to finish pretty strong. Got bottled up by Miami, but I also came out of that one with a little bit of a credit for the Canes and the way they took care of business in that Week 14 win.
I'm curious to see, like, if he's going to leave Pitt, if Cade Bell leaves Pitt. Like, are those guys a package deal?
Maybe.
I thought there was a chance Florida was going to happen, and then they go get Buster Faulkner. And
which you can't argue with.
I know they wanted Faulkner as their first choice.
Right. I did not know anything about who they wanted. I just thought if I was Florida, his dad, Kerwin Bell, like I thought that would have made sense. That was total just speculation on my part. But I think Buster Faulkner is a great hire too.
I would leave Pitt for sure if I was Heinzel if they don't get me some better offensive linemen. Because like the couple games they played against teams that had like real D linemen, they were just not competitive in any way. Like that's to me as a quarterback, I'd be like, you guys are hampering my development. I need to see a real plan. You're going to surround me with people who can block at least a little bit. These guys suck. Please bring like I want to see a plan or I'm going to bounce.
Yeah. And I do think, like we were talking about coaches, they want to know what staff they're going to have for staff allotment. I think it's a great point, Bud. I want to scout the team and make sure I'm going to a place that's going to invest in an offensive line to have some weapons. The chat put a pretty good buy in there, Kenny Minchie. The thing with Kenny Minchie, why I would not have him on my list is if you could strike gold and have the next Julian Sayin, Sayin was at Alabama, then he sat out a year, and maybe you have a guy waiting in the wings who's super talented. I just prefer to see somebody who's done it, right? Like that. So Kenny Minchie might be somebody with the success that CJ Carr had that might be looking. Who knows? Maybe he stays and sees what happens at Notre Dame, but that's the reason why I did not have him on here. Some of my sells you might be surprised by. I will say, and with my buys, well, more importantly, with my sells, there probably is a chance that one of these ends up at Florida State because I probably would not have bought DJU or Thomas Castellanos. They were not exactly my favorites in there. In fact, I had a pretty scathing tweet about Tommy Castellanos when he left Boston College. Didn't love the way he left there.
And a radio segment, too. They got aggregated by Sirius XM's social.
Yeah. So that was not great. So that means Florida State probably will buy one of these that I'm selling. Maybe I could sell them to him and get a commission off this one. So I'm selling first off the quarterback that just announced he's in there, Sam Leavitt. He might be somebody who commands. He might, when they come out with it, I'll be curious to see what the transfer portal rankings are. Guess is he's probably one of the tops. I mean, right now he'll probably be one of the tops. I thought his play is a little bit erratic. And then I don't love the exit. That to me does show you some maturity, leadership. Like sometimes you have to do the right thing, even though you're going. To not go to the banquet, just kind of the way it's been handled. I'm a little bit curious about the brother.
Yes,
being
the
his
brother
agent.
is a big piece on this.
Yes.
The brother is his agent and is not like an established, like long-time guy. So I am curious, like who he's taking advice from on this, and if it's the best advice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure he watched Ballers, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's been a thing.
So, Danny, I don't want to cut off your other sells, but let's stay here in the Sam Leavitt because there is a head coach with a big NIL war chest who's looking for a quarterback who also did not handle his exit well. I just think that there's a match made in heaven
for spring. Just like is Leavitt going to be available for spring?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
So
what about Chambliss? You don't think Chambliss goes with him if he gets the extra year, or do you think he's not going to get the extra year?
Oh, I thought you meant Mario with Beck not handling his exit well.
Oh, is that who? I thought you were talking about a coach.
Okay.
I was talking about Lane Kiffin.
That's what I thought you were talking about.
Because we think Sellers to Miami, right?
I don't know.
That, you know what?
I think it's cooled off, man. I don't
Okay.
know. I think his play. That was one of my sells, by the way. That was the next sell, was the North sellers.
When he's selling sellers. Like, look, to me, just fit-wise, I feel like Lenore Sellers is not a Mario Cristobal kind of quarterback. You know what I mean? I feel like that would drive Mario insane, some of the stuff Lenore's does.
Although Cam Ward did a lot of similar, like, turnover prone, crazy outside the pocket.
But Ward was more of a passer. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you're willing to deal with that because he's able to do special things in the air for you that he has to take risks for. I just don't think Lenore's dual threat-ish is what Mario likes. But anyway, Sam Levitt should be scared because he has made a very powerful enemy in one Pete Prisco.
Oh,
Don't you just worry about your NFL draft stock once you enter the draft and Pete Prisco gets after you, because he's going to drag you to the muck.
If you thought Troy Aikman was vindictive.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Do not piss off Pete.
Pete wants an apology letter.
Yeah, that Sun Devils helmet in the back of Pete's shot when he's at home is not just for decoration. He cares about Arizona State football,
and he'll hit you with it.
Yes.
All of this, though, I don't necessarily fault Sam Levitt for shopping around. I don't like the way it's being handled and the exit, because I do think Arizona State probably does have some issues with money where they cannot afford another offer for Sam Levitt. And we could argue about, is he better suited to stay at Arizona State in the system, have a really good year if it's his draft stock, or does he just try to make as much as he can now because his draft stock plummeted and who knows where he gets drafted? Like, there is an argument to be made there as well. So I don't fault Sam Levitt for leaving. I'm not a huge believer in the skill set or the way it was handled.
Also, like, if he goes to a higher quality team, it could, in theory, also help his brother if his brother can sign some of those guys.
Yes.
Which, look, sometimes family considerations are a part of this, guys. So we've heard.
Mm-hmm. Lenore Sellers, another one. I just mentioned that. I am selling. We'll see. I mean, again, some of this comes back to market value, but if they're commanding $3 or $4 million and that's the price for Lenore Sellers, I'm sorry, I'm passing. If it's,
you wouldn't pay 3 or 4 for Lenore's?
No, I wouldn't. I think it's too risky. I think I've seen too many bad habits, too careless with the football. And that's kind of, so DJ Lagway is my next one. We talk so much about these guys as potential, and we talk about them because they have the measurables and they have a cannon. We haven't seen them be able to execute offenses at a high level or with much consistency, which is why I think there's an extreme risk in both of them.
I just think the price on quarterbacks is going sky high.
I do too. I think the price is going to be sky high, but I do think you should probably spend less on a pretty good quarterback. It depends on what your funds are. Like, how much of the cap is it going to go with? But if it was me, I think you could find a pretty good quarterback for $2 million, spend an extra $2 million on some offensive linemen, like we were talking about before, and you can get a really good college quarterback. Maybe you don't have a top 5 pick, but I think you could work around somebody. It's similar to the model. Remember, we did a discussion about, we even did this on the podcast. Like, what would your salary cap allocation look like? I would not be strapped so much to a quarterback unless it was virtually certain, and there is no certainty. So I think it's almost like I would have the model of not going out of drafting a quarterback, because the draft a QB with the rookie salary is a successful model that's worked for some teams. But I would try to find a quarterback who I think is really good, who I value, that can be a really good quarterback, and then try to put a lot of good pieces around him.
I think the issue you run into here is that $2 million is not enough to get a quarterback away from another Power 5 school. Like, I think every Power 5 school, if they want to keep the kid, is going to find a way to pay the quarterback $2 million. So you're either going down to G5, like, again, if they want to keep the kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can all find a way. I think, not all, probably 90% of your Power 5 schools can find a way to keep the kid for $2 million.
Right.
Like,
Agreed.
I don't know what Illinois paid to keep Altmaier away from Tennessee, but it's probably close to that, right?
Right.
And they found it. Iowa State kept their kid. TCU kept their kid. Like, when Tennessee was desperate when their guy left, super late in the process.
So, like, what I'm seeing
up for,
and like, it'll be interesting to see. Like, we saw Mensa get the $4 million a year for 2 years from Duke. Like, I think if the team wants Mason Heinchel from Pitt, that's probably the numbers you're looking at to get him. It's probably similar. Do you think it's higher than that, Bud?
I think your top guys are going to get over 4.
Yeah. That's what Carson Beck got last year, right?
Right. Now, here's the thing. It's not always cash.
Right.
Like some of these kids get like land deals that vest after the end of their thing, so they can't go elsewhere. Like there's some interesting
Whitecross Ranch.
right. Like there are interesting stuff going on right now, which is I think pretty good accounting wise, and pretty creative. So I mean, I think 3 is enough to get a kid away from a lot of schools.
Yeah.
I don't think 2 does it for you.
That's where I would try to find a guy at the group of 5 who's, a mess maker, but a mess maker's almost been too good because he might command that type of money.
Yeah, mess maker's going to get top dollar, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that, but I think that.
You got a bunch of Cooper Norrises out there coming up with wise land deals of how we're going to take 50 different 8 parcel units and frack on them and make billions.
Yeah. There we go. I like the
Watch Landman on Paramount Plus, a Mountain of Entertainment.
But let me float something to you, because I had this on Twitter a couple weeks ago, but there was a lot of other Twitter stuff going on. I think I would pay like a premium to get Castellanos to be my backup. Like he could be a great emergency quarterback for you. Like think if Missouri had him this year, they wouldn't have to play the freshman, right? Like he can't seem to stay healthy for an entire season, but when he's healthy, he's pretty explosive. He just gets dinged up and worn down pretty quickly. Like he could come in and give you a spark if your starter went down for a couple games. Like I do wonder if we don't start to see some of these schools signing like a veteran insurance policy more often. If you like the rest of your roster and you have maybe like your expensive stud, you have your expensive, freshman quarterback who's not ready to play. Like, do you pony up like $700 for a backup that you think, all right, doesn't cost us the game?
You know who did that? Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Ole Miss went and signed
Good
Trinidad Chambliss as a veteran backup who had won that. They did a great job of that too. And I do wonder how much they were concerned about a freshman who hadn't played very much in Austin Simmons. And I think it was a combination of both. But I do think to your point, Bud, I think they will pay. I don't know what they're paying Trinidad Chambliss, and they probably got a steal on him. I don't know if Tommy Castellanos will take backup money. That's the only problem.
I'm not sure how many teams want him to be their starter.
Right.
Lincoln probably you could say did that too, bringing in Jaden Maeva.
Yeah.
Right.
Backup Miller Moss.
Yep.
Illinois did it a couple of years ago with John Paddock in Luke's first year as a starter. Luke got hurt. Paddock comes in, throws like 500 yards a game. And then this year he didn't have to play because Luke was healthy the all season, but they had Ethan Hampton, the former Northern Illinois quarterback, as the backup.
Would you guys, this will go a little, we need some advisors here to the investment firm. Would you buy or sell Nico if he hits the portal?
So
Bye.
Sell.
That's what I thought, Bud, I could get Bud to nibble on that one. I would sell because I've seen too much distraction, but the talent, Bud, is too much. You think it is too attractive?
I mean, if we're buying or selling, like you got to consider price. Like his price has got to be pretty rock bottom right now. So
do you think he'd be $2 million?
Oh yeah, I just don't think he'd get 4.
Would he, if he does leave UCLA, will he send Troy Aikman a card?
I think he's a quarterback. If you put him in a good situation, if you put a lot of that's the one, that would be one. Now, contrary to my other sells, this would have massive red flags. And maybe this is one where you're looking around, you're like, all right, if I can get him for $2 million, if I put a really good offensive lineman and a couple of receivers out with him, I think he might be able to do it. And I do think you dangle out the carrot of you need to play really well if you want to get to the NFL. You should have a highly motivated quarterback. I don't know why he wouldn't be already, but I think that could be an attractive piece because of the talent.
Can't wait till he's starting for the Knowles next year.
The other piece of this is the 2022 recruiting class, right? Those are the guys who are going to get that 5th year if they get their injunction on the case to be heard in Tennessee on December 15th, right? It's like that. We have to watch this because there are some quarterbacks here who are pretty. I think Hoover's one of them at TCU, by the way.
Ooh.
Some guys who would commit or command some pretty serious money. Just give me a second here.
Josh Hoover to South Carolina with Kendall Briles.
Ooh,
that'd
be nice.
If you're sellers, do you have to get out now because they hired Briles? Because that's not really like an NFL system. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think so.
I don't think Sellers is made for that system either.
Does Mateer have 2 years? He has another year anyway, right? He was 2 years at.
Yeah, he was a freshman last year, right?
All right. So, I don't know which of these guys redshirted, but Drew Allers, Klubnik, Wegman, Simpson, Brown, Walker Howard, Stockton, Evers.
I heard a lot of sell off the start of that one.
Right. Like looking here more down the line. Bo Perula, right? He probably already redshirted at Penn State once, so like he would have already had the extra year. Because again, you get 5 for 5. You just get like 5 years to play 5 seasons if this thing passes. There's a couple. I scrolled this on signing day with Ivans. Fafita, that's a big one for Arizona. Like that was a 9-win Zona team.
Yeah.
Pretty
Josh
sure
Hoover's on there.
Pretty sure Altmaier would get a 5th year too.
Wasn't he 2021?
Maybe. Yeah, you're right. He was 2021.
Because I was thinking that was the first QB that Norvell had committed.
Yeah, because he was there with Dart. Yep. Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
2021.
Ashton Daniels, who I think basically redshirted this year anyway. So, like Rocco Becht.
That's the one. I thought he's listed as a junior.
With the arm, then
I think he's listed as a junior.
I think Rocco's got a year left. Yeah.
So did he redshirt prior?
I don't think so. I think he was. I think he must. I think he did redshirt, but I think he's listed as a junior on the site.
Caden Veltkamp,
FAU,
Western Kentucky.
Yeah. Just looking here down. Byron Brown.
Yeah.
I know that he's an injunction guy that then of course becomes part of the Auburn outlook. That's
right.
That's another war chest that could end up getting in a bidding war somewhere.
There's gonna be like a 1,400-page thread on an Auburn message board before December 15th about this.
There's also, as much, and I don't know, this is not I love Byron Brown. I think he's awesome. But I do think one of these ones where we think the quarterback is going because the coach had success with him and he really liked him a lot, there's going to be some coach who's going to know and be like, yeah, it's too high a price. I can get somebody better.
Here's one for you. Sorsby.
He has the extra year, doesn't he?
I think he redshirted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the list. I was thinking of selling because of the finish.
So Sorsby could go to the NFL.
He's not going to the NFL, I don't think.
He's got I was listening to some draft show. They said like a 3rd or 4th round grade.
I think he'd be great. And at the money he's going to be able to command in the open market, I think he should come back to college and see if he can get up to a 2nd round,
All
but
right,
make as much
Sellers,
money.
Him or Lenoris. If the money was similar.
Sellers.
Maybe Sorsby. It's a tough one. I'd lean maybe towards Sorsby.
Sellers.
I think Sellers
higher ceiling.
Sellers made me go wow a little bit.
For Sellers.
My Mike Breen bang level was a little bit louder than
For sure.
with Lenore Sellers.
Jim Phillips said in Vegas per Marcelo that they are going to look at the tiebreaker. Okay.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Why? What happened?
Who could have seen that coming? But my man Tom Fornelli, who pointed out UVA 95-1 to win the league because they had such an easy schedule, and I had Duke 30-1.
Yeah.
From July. I was like, yeah, by the way,
why? What happened?
the schedule differences here are so wide that like if the favorites are just slightly worse than we think, this could get weird.
As part of that, has Jim Phillips, I haven't seen, has he clapped back at all at Bavacqua?
He said he's going to stand on his statement that he made earlier.
Perfect.
Which is all he needs to do.
Well,
Like-
I mean,
He's got Brett Normark as his tag team partner. Get in there. Let me get some.
Also, like I do think Notre Dame would have had a legitimate argument here if they had evidence that the ACC was independently campaigning against Notre Dame without the context of comparative stuff for Miami, right? Everything that I saw was Miami compared to Notre Dame, like arguing on Miami's behalf with the head-to-head, showing the similar strength of schedule type stuff. They do not have evidence, at least not that I've seen, of like the ACC saying, like actively saying, hey, Notre Dame should not be in, without the comparison piece of Miami should be in because of the head-to-head.
I looked through all their social stuff, and not
Now,
super
at least
hard,
that
but I
I've
went
seen.
through
If
it.
they have something else, then cool.
They have not. It was nothing. I mean, I do not think there was anything that said Notre Dame is not worthy or they don't look as good or anything singular. To your point, it was always head-to-head matters. One of these is not like the rest, and it was always head-to-head. Miami beat Notre Dame. It was never Notre Dame versus anybody else. It was just promoting Notre Dame. By the way, there's been such a big deal made out of, the ACC network re-aired the Miami Notre Dame game. How many eyeballs do you think actually saw that?
Well, they were also the hours.
Millions.
Our show on CBS Sports Network.
I mean,
millions.
I think that it was also like the through the night was a lot of that. Like
Yes, it was 100%. It was like a marathon. It was just on
looks,
all the time. But how many people watched it? Or
they were.
The ACC network is never off my television, Danny. You know I gotta have me my ACC.
Hey, listen, all you needed was to just have it on in all the restaurants. You know.
I get they're being upset. I do think they got a raw deal. I do think, and it could have easily been solved if the committee had jumped them the week after the Pitt game and said, you know what, Miami looked better against Pitt. I think even Notre Dame was probably nervous of that scenario because they saw the score was better and Miami had a significant, and they had common opponents. And that's the one thing I do think is interesting, that Bavacqua hasn't called out the committee. You know, like, call them out. They're the ones that screwed this out.
I thought on Sunday his initial stuff was like, we have to do away with the committee.
Yeah,
which I would agree with. High fives,
or at least
on that
the weekly rankings.
Yeah.
I just wish Jim Phillips would ask Pete Bavacqua if Notre Dame planned to give them a cut of the playoff money if they made it.
Yep. That's what I would have said, because he referenced the
if you would, maybe we would stump for you a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't.
Million, they took home all in their own pocket. 20 million, all in their own pocket.
Yeah, because Notre Dame doesn't pay anything back.
Zero. They got to pocket the whole thing. Ohio State had to divvy up 20 million with the Big Ten.
I thought business partnerships went two ways.
Same way. That's what I'd same thing.
All right. Anything else from
Nope. Market's closed.
All right, here's something to think about. If Notre Dame had their automatic provision this year, like they have next year, like
start them lower.
No. Like they would have jumped Miami this year because they're automatically in at their top 12. Like, and that would be
I hate this provision. I mean, this is why doesn't
it's genius by Notre Dame. It's great negotiating.
Absolutely. But if you're the committee and you want to get deep conspiracy theory, don't keep them at like 13 this year.
I don't think they want to keep them out. There was no argument for them to be in this year. Like at all costs, they want to get Notre Dame in the playoff, man. They're such a great draw. It's a TV product and a business. Miami just had so much better case. And Bama had like, if you combine their best wins with Bama had like 6 of the top 7. Does anybody else have an MOU signed? Like I tweeted as a joke that like Bama, if they're in the top 20, they're automatically in. It feels like it.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see like if any other league has like private deals signed with the playoff.
How do we not know about this?
I mean, do you have to sign an MOU with yourself? Like, I'm pretty sure the SEC and Big Ten have an MOU with the CFP, seeing how they make all the decisions.
Yeah, that's the one that everybody signed, including the ACC and the Big 12, is that the SEC and the Big 10 have the power over this thing moving forward. So, I don't know. I mean, it's the college football playoff brought to you by Bush's Beans, now on Feast Week. It's just an invitational, you know. Pull some good teams together. They should have the college football playoff in the Lahaina Civic Center in Maui.
I did see that the AD pulled back and said some of this damage is repairable. So maybe he's realizing like they don't quite have the option that they think they have in the very near term.
So it went from irreparable to reparable. Really.
Yeah, like I don't think you can just get out and do a scheduling agreement with the SMU next year or with the SEC next year, right? Like they're going to a 9-game schedule. It's a little bit harder than you think it is.
Figuratively and literally.
You just, like make an extra point. Could have been all this taken care of. All right. Coming up on the other side, the transfer portal will be opening in less than a month. What are our expectations? What does the Farmer's Almanac say? Stormy transfer portal, busy transfer portal, weak, strong? We'll get into all that and more next.
When you need your sports news all the time,
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast. Yes, it is about that time of year. Doesn't open until January 2nd, but we've got some stuff to talk about. Let's jump into the portal. right. Again, January 2nd is when the transfer portal will open. We already got into a few of the quarterback dominoes, talking about what the future might be for a Sam Levitt, for a Brendan Sorsby, Lenora Sellers, Market, and more. What about Dylan Raiola? If we were just taking bets, expectations, having a conversation, what is the thought about what might happen with our boy?
Like, where's he going to go?
Is he definitely out? And B, okay.
Would anybody like any kind of odds offered that he stays?
Listen, not everybody is out here in these personnel streets, bud. Sometimes we need to guide our whole audience to, where we're ultimately going to land. But yes, the thought is he will not be there.
Brandon Bell just nailed it.
Yeah, he did. Yes,
There's
he did.
Raiola going to go. Oh my God. He's going to Texas Tech, and he's going to wear the number 15 for the Red Raiders.
That's the hot rumor out there, man.
Is it really?
Yeah.
All the money. They got the big money.
Oh my goodness.
Now look, they do.
Man
say
is not dodging the allegations.
Like Tech does say they like to back up a whole lot.
Oh, Will Hammond. He played well.
Yeah.
He just got hurt. I mean,
correct.
He's also going to be coming off a knee surgery, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it knee surgery? Wasn't this an ACL? I'm not wrong about that.
I don't know the injury.
But it was a knee injury that shut him down for the season.
I thought it was ACL.
Okay.
Yeah, ACL.
That's awesome. I had Texas Tech as one of my teams to watch for sure, just because you can just back up the truck, right? Go out there and just take a Big 12 championship team, lose some players, back up the truck, and go get yourself another fantastic haul. Do you know who else I had as a team to watch? The Florida State Seminoles, in which case I turned the question to the Knoll boys to say, what are the realistic goals and expectations for the portal haul for Florida State heading into next season?
Not good.
Okay.
Like, you have an AD that basically was out there believing like the salary cap, like the Easter Bunny, for a good year. So that put him behind the 8 ball significantly because of what the kind of money they thought they were going to have to work with. And you clearly didn't have a plan to hire this GM and front office overhaul. If you did, you would have started it after the Stanford loss if you thought there was any real chance you'd bring Norvell back. So they're clearly not going to have this guy in place in time to make a meaningful impact on this year's portal. Meanwhile, Zenith just said that their current GM, Derek Ray, who I think should have gotten out after 23 when he realized the staff couldn't recruit, coming off 23-2 record prior 2 years because Norvell didn't really hold him to a high work ethic standard for recruiting. But nonetheless, like, if he leaves, they're not going to have this plan executed in time, right? These conversations have been had with agents for like 6-8 weeks now. A lot of these guys are spoken for. So I would say like a poor projected one overall, to be honest. I don't see a lot of hope for this.
Can you help me understand the consultants? Let me give you the way that I understood it, because Cooper Patagna discussed how there's either consultants or a consulting firm that is doing an analysis of their current GM and personnel department. And if you've seen Office Space, I just started thinking about the Bobs. The Bobs are in the Florida State office calling each one of these staffers in. Oh. So what exactly is it that you do here? And if that's what's happening right now, to your point about timeline, I wouldn't. Can you give me any more details about that? Or is my vision of Office Space not that far off probably from what's happening?
Yeah, so it's Jake Rosenberg, who used to work for the Eagles. He kind of is the one who helped author the change in Oklahoma's front office, which I think had kind of mixed results, right? Like when OU and Nagy and those guys, who I respect a lot, when they first got there, I think they were making a whole lot of noise about how like they can win with all these 3 stars and find these marketing efficiencies. And I think what they found is like, hey, just because you find a 3-star in April doesn't mean that others won't find him in May, and then his price is going to go up. So Oklahoma ended up having to be like a top bidder on a number of big time guys this year. So they're not doing the Moneyball thing. So this NFL smarter than everybody approach, I think North Carolina stuck with that for a lot longer than Oklahoma did. Oklahoma kind of realized like, hey, we're not playing the NFL, we're playing college. There are some NFL principles that might aid us. Also, we have some major weaknesses in our game that we need to bring in some college people to help solve. Kind of got to mesh the two concepts. So, like, in theory, that could work. Also, if you're a big-time coach, like we saw Lane Kiffin, Andy Staples reported he soured on Florida when Florida was trying to like do an independent GM of him. He was like, absolutely not. And even when they backed off, Staples said he was still soured by it. So, like maybe that's what killed Florida for Lane Kiffin. So, yeah, we'll see who they can hire. But like, if the AD is also potentially on the hot seat, what kind of job security do you have as this GM? Like ADs want to hire the coach because it's their ass if he fails. You don't think that same logic is going to apply to a GM?
Well, I think the different levels of GM. I mean, there's the GM who is a staffer who is working for the coach. There's the GM who is Andrew Luck, who made the damn hire.
Right.
And everything in between. So it's just the way that these are assigned, who you work for, what the organizational chart looks like. There's just not an industry standard for me to have a good feel for talking about GMs and understanding, who the candidates are or how they're going to fit.
Agreed.
Who are some other teams to watch in the portal?
I mean, I think a lot of it starts with quarterback, right? Does Dante Moore go pro at Oregon? If so, they're one to watch. Now they did keep. Why am I blanking on their backup's name? I apologize, guys.
Novosad. Like
they kept Novosad. I think a lot of teams were like, "Hey, you can come start for us." So I'm assuming they're paying him something real. And I don't know how well he did in practice. I haven't asked, but if they like him, they might just go internal and not go transfer, especially because JKS stayed at Cal, right?
So, one other line. I was listening to Cooper talk about this morning, so it's like top of mind. He comped Tosh Lupoy from a work ethic standpoint to Mario Cristobal.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, keep your eye on what Cal is going to do, what Tosh is going to do, because their number one goal is to build around Jaron Chiave Sagapolitelli. Like they are going to go offensive line. Their wide receivers this year were among the nation's leaders in drops. Like you are going to go out there and you are going to ensure your future. You've locked down the quarterback, and Cooper was basically saying, all the things we think about when it comes to Mario and the way that he attacks the portal, apply some of those same reputations to Tosh Lupoy. And when you combine that with Ron Rivera leading the way, like Cal doesn't have the kind of money to go toe-to-toe in bidding wars with like the very, very top dogs, but it does sound like they've got the team in place and enough resources to be a team to watch as they try to build around JKS.
I would agree with that. Let me see. Anybody who's kind of all in on a title, like I think Texas in what could be Arch's final year, they should be pretty heavily in. Notre Dame, obviously, like Carr, obviously, like if he keeps playing this well, like he's not going to last 4 years in college. Like I would expect the Irish to be all in. Miami's kind of an interesting one. Like I think I expect their approach to be all in every year, given the schedule and the path is very something you can capitalize on. But they do lose a lot of like unique pieces off this team.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to be all in at quarterback because they know they don't have an internal option. Like they've not recruited quarterback out of high school well at all. So at least QB for them. I think Florida's got to kind of be all in. Like I think that's a win now roster if you get QB right.
You were talking about that. Were we ranking hires earlier this week?
Yeah, I think Florida's a playoff team next year if they do a job in the portal.
That's right.
I like that roster. I think Napier's a bad coach.
Yeah, so they are going to be able to hold on to you think a lot of those pieces there?
I think at least some. I mean, I know other teams are like, going after their guys right now, but like if you're saving money on Summerall compared to Lane, and you are, and a lot, you should be able to retain that roster.
What about Penn State with their schedule, new coach, no recruiting class?
They've got a lot to replace, and they've got
no
recruiting class. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if
their schedule is perfect to make a run next year.
I don't know. It's a tricky situation. Like I wouldn't be shocked if Rocco Becht ends up going to Penn State, and that solves one problem. It's just I don't know if they are going to be like going heavy to like win next year, or if it's going to be more of a long-term kind of plan. I would say I have the same question about Michigan. Like, are you going to go all in and put a team around Bryce Underwood or risk losing Bryce Underwood after next year?
Yeah, but don't you think they could keep Bryce Underwood by firing Sharon after next year?
Yeah, but if I'm Sharon, I need to win next year. I feel
Yeah,
I'd much rather keep Bryce Underwood than Sharon Moore, with all due respect. Like,
Yeah.
one's a hell of a lot more important in my program.
And if I'm sure
I want to go
more,
get some wide receivers. I want to go get
anybody who else? What other sort of dominoes, players, or teams do you have your eye on?
I mean, Bama's probably not in the quarterback market, assuming Simpson goes, right?
Yeah, no,
Because
They're
they think they hit on Keelan.
yep.
So like that's big. Auburn, I think Auburn's 100% in the quarterback market, unless you think you can run the system with Daniels.
What happens to Deuce Knight?
I mean, I think if he was ready, he would have played a little bit in some of these games, other than just the FCS game. But he was electric in the FCS game, so maybe they can work with him. I don't know. Who else? Like,
I mean, saying
South Carolina's going to be in the market for a quarterback, I assume.
If Deuce did enter the portal, how heavy do you think the market would be?
Style specific.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Also, like, patient specific. Is he somebody who would you do it like heavily incentive based? Like, hey, here's $1.5 million, but like you could make up to 4 if you play this many games or something like that type thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question, Tom.
Does Nebraska have an outlook to be able to lay into a new quarterback and build a team around? Because this was a year with a lot of excitement that is very much ended in a. We thought this was going to be a level up year, and as we're sitting here on December 10th, I don't think that I've seen Nebraska football level up this season.
It's a good thing you got that extension.
Yeah, I would say. So Nebraska, the messaging from Nebraska, from guys we know, was like, look, 27, we are all in on high school. We have so many young guys coming back on this roster. We took a small high school class. Now, you might sit here and say that's insane to be like, all right, we're finally going to get high school recruiting right here in 2027 because those guys won't really be an impact until 28 or 29. Fair. I think it's a real criticism. But they are going to be pretty heavily in the portal this cycle, especially if/when they lose Raiola, right? Mm. You got to get multiple offensive linemen because, like, we first guessed that, and that was bad. You also need multiple defensive linemen, I think. So maybe you go a little cheaper on QB there if you're Nebraska, and you try to get the lines of scrimmage right.
I would. To your point, who isn't getting enough Heisman Trophy love is Emmett
Johnson, man.
Yeah. But like to your earlier point about talking about these quarterbacks, I think that stylistically, a matter of taste, I'm a little bit more in the give me the cheaper quarterback or an in-house option and spend on the lines of scrimmage. That's just how, it might cost me a shot at a national championship, but I think I'd feel better about my chances to get to the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, it's a dice roll. But
this year will be interesting to see, like, if Baron Morton, who I have my concerns about, like if Texas Tech wins it with him, well, I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's a difference maker. Might be a lot of teams following that model.
Was Baron Morton one of the highest paid quarterbacks this year?
I would assume he got a decent amount considering the money that they were splashing on the roster overall. You probably don't want to have your quarterback being underpaid.
I don't think he was like top 10.
Yeah. No. But see, I do not. I just, as like a matter of principle, do not believe most of like your lists and your social graphics that are popping out there with payments and things like that. But Baron Morton is the one where you're like, unless it is, of course, a rising tide lifts all boats with the amount of money that's being spent on the roster.
Dirty Dogs 92 in the chat says Philo to UF to play under Buster would be the perfect QB for that Florida offense. Philo, for those of y'all who don't like follow Georgia Tech religiously, is Haynes King's backup, who we know they're very high on.
Mm-hmm.
He played for Haynes last season, bit at the end of the year, and was good.
Played pretty damn well too.
Yeah. So again, transfer portal opening January 2nd. We'll be giving you updates as we get them. Always interesting talking points throughout the year. We will be back Thursday 11 a.m. Eastern time. We'll give you our breakdown for America's game. Army, Navy coming up this Saturday, as well as our Army, Navy locks, plus much more news and headlines from across college football. So come and hang out, youtube.com/cover3. And you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fornelli. You can follow him at Bud Elliott 3. You can follow him at Danny Kanell. Follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See y'all.